All right, welcome back to Jeff's Misfit Toys. These cars are definitely living up to the channel name. Um, we're going to move forward with the next repairs to the Z3. Last time, if you watched, we changed the faulty transmission wire harness, which was also control of like the O2 sensors, and had connections going to the fuel system as well. Seems to have fixed the problem so far. We'll see. You know, obviously, I want to get it on the road and drive around a little bit, but all the lights have stayed off, the check engine lights, so that's a good thing. So today, let's dive into some of the other issues. It does not get warm. The car will get to not even a quarter of the way on the temperature gauge on the dash. So thermostat sounds like it's stuck open. So we're gonna go ahead and change the thermostat, which of course is like, it's down here. So we get to move a bunch of stuff to get to it. It's not too simple. It's not that bad though. We're also going to dive into the CCV, the crankcase ventilation, basically a PCV, and it's clogged. It's gurgling from the dipstick tube. There's definitely a clog in this crankcase ventilation system. So we're gonna replace that. I've also got a new power steering reservoir and a couple of the lines. These things are known to leak. There's a filter in the reservoir that you can't change. So they're not that expensive. I think it was under 20 bucks. So we'll change that because it does have a little bit of oil leak down the front. I believe that's it. Hopefully it's not leaking somewhere else, but we're gonna have to get it cleaned off and see. And at that point, I really think this motor will be pretty good to go. You know, we're gonna do an oil change, of course, things like that. Change the antifreeze, get this thing ready to go, power steering fluid, you know, change the fluids. And after that, we will move on to the suspension. It's shot, the front's shot at least. And I'm kind of like one of those people that I'm not gonna change the front struts and not change the rear shocks. So I ordered all the way around shocks, struts, strut mounts, everything. That'll probably be in the next episode. So let's focus on getting the engine tip-top in this episode, and then we can move on to the suspension while we still got it up in the air. I'm trying to do everything I can while it's up in the air. I'm sure I'm gonna have to lift it again when I get it outside, but let's see what we can do. All right, so the thermostat, it's not a regular old thermostat for 12 bucks that you can go down to Napa and get. It is a plastic housing with electrical connection going to it. Why would it be simple, right? And it's tucked up under here. You can see the upper hose go into it. It's not that bad to get to, but we're gonna have to remove the fan and some things, drain some of the antifreeze. The reason that the PCV valve, or the CCV, which is like, yeah, down there, has clogged up is because this engine has not been getting hot enough to burn off all the moisture. So this is causing a clog there. So one problem caused another, but you know what? This thing's got 100,000 miles on it. It's 25 years old. This is all really good stuff to change. Whoever buys this car is gonna have so much maintenance done to the car, they're not gonna have to touch it for a while, hopefully. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna start by getting this fan off, see how easily we can get to the thermostat. So if you work on older BMWs, you've got one of these. It's a 32 millimeter open end, and on the box end it is beat. Why? Because that's how you get these dumb fans off. You're going to put this on the fan, the nut that's on the fan, and then you gotta whack it with a hammer. I'll show you. Okay, so you've got to take this wrench, put it down here on that nut. Now, to make it more fun, it's reverse thread. So it's going to go against everything you know. But you just basically put it in there, make sure you're not going to hit anything. Plastic, good luck, right? And give it a whack. Yeah, don't do that. I just broke the thermostat, which is okay. because we're putting a new one in. Well, I guess I don't have to worry about breaking it anymore. Oh, balls. Yep, I'm a dummy. Oh well. As you can see, that's not supposed to be like that. But we finally got it. The fan, once it comes off, I don't know if you can see it spinning down there, it's gonna have to come off with the shroud. So there's this mount, which was replaced with a zip tie. That's fine. I'll probably put a zip tie back because the factory clip's probably like $5. The other one is missing. You're gonna spin it until it comes off of the threads down there, which is the water pump, like so, and then lift it up with the shroud, and there we go. We're gonna go ahead and get this upper rad hose off since we've already kind of already removed that side. Whoops. Here is the thermostat. That is the side I did not break. That is the side that I did break. Notice the big gaping hole. Here's the other part. I think it's still the original one. It still has the BMW logo and part number. I mean, I guess they could have had a change at the dealership. There was a little damage to this upper rad hose. I'm gonna go ahead and change that. This was probably the hardest mechanical fan and clutch I've ever had to take off a BMW. That thing did not want to come off. I worked hard. I was standing up here. Yeah, on the engine. It was the only way. And I actually had another casualty. This is the water pump pulley. I mean, you could see the crack. I had put a big screwdriver in between the two bolts, and I actually ended up bending one of the bolts, and it cracked it. So that's a new one. It's a new one for me. I'm sure it's happened to other people. There's probably guys out there going, "Oh yeah, yeah." I definitely did not have the proper tool to try to lock that pulley. There's a tool that goes around two of the bolts for the water pump. I think I would have just ended up bending two of the bolts. So now we're going to go ahead and get this thermostat out of here. There is an electrical connector and one hose left. Really, other than that, we just bolted off. So there's just this clip. Carefully unplug it. There we go. Get that out of the way. And now there's going to be 4 bolts. I can look at the new one. Here is the new one. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. Yeah, and then just clicks onto the other rad hose. That's the other nice part about working in the garage. All my tools are right here. I don't have to, like, you know, go back to the garage and get them. All right. You know how hard it is to not cut your finger near a radiator? This water pump was recently done because the antifreeze is nice and blue. Looks like it's probably fairly recently done. Let's get this hose off first. So you just pull this out. Just be careful, you know, everything's old and I probably shouldn't be prying the way I'm doing it, but the problem is when you pull on it, all of a sudden it lets loose and then your hand smashes into something else. And I don't want to put a screwdriver through my hand again. You guys ever do that? That hurts. Oh, a little more. See, I probably should have left the bolts in a little bit longer. Alright, it's coming. Oh man, it's making me have to pee. Yeah, that's good looking coolant. Oh god, my hands are so slippery now from touching coolant. But you guys see, like, this has got to come off. So there's a, I don't know how high the camera's showing you, but more stuff. Some engineer BMW is like, you know, people never use their 11s. Let's fix that. Well, I guess we don't really need to take the bracket off. Thermostat can now come out all the way. And there's the old stuck thermostat. Well, half of it. And this is just a little tip. You don't have to buy the expensive OEM parts to get the OEM quality. Waller, made in Germany. Well, what's this have here? Oh, look at that. Waller, made in Germany. So, same company, probably the same mold. They just sell it a lot cheaper through places like Rock Auto or wherever else you decide to buy your parts from. So before we go ahead and put the new thermostat on, we should clean this off, make it nice. Time to go ahead and put the new thermostat in. It's really not a hard job. Make sure you get the wire the way it's supposed to go. There we go. I know all the other people you watch probably use like power tools. I don't know. I should probably get some. Sometimes working on these cars is like braille. There we go. Click. 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 So now we just go ahead and click the connector back on. Done. We've got one more little, that 11 millimeter nut. This one's good. We don't need a torque spec on this one. So there we go. So this thermostat is now installed. Now we can move on to the next problem, and hopefully I won't make even more problems like this time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start by removing this air box to try to get to this CCV valve, PCV. I don't know how deep it is. I know on some people remove intake manifolds on the regular 3 Series cars. This car's obviously a little different. I'm gonna just start taking the air box off. Let's see what we got in there. Hopefully we can do it without taking the intake manifold off. I don't really want to disturb all those acorns. Take the air filter out. Oh, that looks new. Oh, really? It does. Look at it. It's down there. I don't know where, but it's down there somewhere. Let's just take this stuff off, and we will we'll see where we get. So I'm going to first start by taking this air box out. Looks like we got a nut here. I'm going to have to disconnect the MAF. Looks like there's a little, I should probably get a screwdriver. I don't know why I didn't bring that over here. Just one glove is what I decided to bring. One glove. Let's pop these guys off. This airbox looks like it's ready to come out. Wow, that was easy. We can get the acorns out. I can see the alternator looks brandy new. Bosch alternator. So that's good. I don't know where the hell this valve is. Is it? Oh God, I hope it's not back there. Well, that's not good. Let's get this black box off here and all this stuff, and then we'll go from there. Take the intake boot off here. I'm gonna try to do it with this wrong size screwdriver. Okay, wrong size screwdriver's working. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. Still don't see anything. So I got this bolt out. I'm gonna try to take this box off. There's another nut up here. I already loosened it. And then we'll see if we can get in there. Oh boy, what am I getting myself into? So BMW, I would think this CCV valve, which is like a PCV valve, is kind of a maintenance item. Why did you put this on the assembly line first and then build the car around it? It doesn't make any sense. Let me show you guys where it is and everything I've had to do to not even be close to getting it out yet. We've taken all the boots off, which they look good, so that's good. We took them off. We know they don't need to be replaced. We got to get this bracket with all these wires out of the way. So I've gotten to unplug about 3,000 wires. Hopefully I'll put them back in the right places, you know. And the PCV is, let me show you. It is. I don't know if I can show you or not. So it's under there. You can take my word for it. There it is. You see that round piece to the left of the H badge, which is part of the throttle body? That's it. I have no idea how the hell I'm going to get to it yet. I still have to take more things off. So I'm going to keep plugging away. I'm not going to make you watch every little thing I do. Plus, I need to focus because this is fun. Oh boy, welcome back. So the CCV valve, I can now touch it back here. Yay. But it looks like I gotta take the throttle body off now to get to it. So this is the second time this throttle body's been replaced. Why wouldn't they just change that stupid valve? Okay, must be what, 4 bolts per throttle body? Yeah, this is turning into a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I heard it was a lot of work, but I was like, I bet you I'll be able to snake this in without much trouble. Wrong. 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 Alright, up and out of the way. And there. That's the CCV. Why is it there? I mean, do you see where it is? What's up, BMW? It is definitely held on by something else. Ugh. Now I see why they gave you those 2 hoses. Ugh. Because they're gonna break. Okay. That was nuts. Alright, so we are going to... Alright. I wasn't going to do this because last time I did one of these, all the thread stripped out and I had to helicoil. We're going to change the oil filter housing gasket. The oil filter housing, it's got one of those screw-ins with the cartridge. They always tend to leak from that gasket. This engine is showing leaking down the front of the engine. Having it part so much, it'd be kind of dumb not to do it, and I did already buy the seal. It's just a few bucks. So we're going to take off right here. That is the oil filter housing. So we're going to have to take this off. We're replacing the, I think I mentioned before, but we're going to replace the power steering reservoir and the hoses going down as well. At that point, we're almost, we've almost got the oil filter housing out anyway. I think I have to take off more than I realized, but you could see it's kind of oily down there. And I don't know if it's all from this or not, so I think we should just do the right thing and change it. So let's go ahead and start. We'll start removing parts that are in the way. This is probably why I'm not going to do good at flipping cars, because I watch some of these other guys flip cars and they don't do a lot more than just shine them up, and they make decent money. And then here's me, I'm changing everything and more because I'm a dummy. I'll feel better about selling it. I'd rather make a little less money and sell a nicer car. Plus I'm having fun, right? Isn't that what I keep saying? So much fun. Okay. Take the alternator off. I did realize this alternator is definitely newer. I ran the Carfax. Pretty new, actually. It was changed like less than 10,000 miles ago. Oh, and the throttle body, according to the Carfax, was replaced like 2,000 miles before I bought this. I think they just were done trying to figure stuff out. I don't blame them. I don't think I would have even thought to check the wiring harness if it wasn't for that old invoice that was with the car. But you could really get a picture how leaky. You could see how leaky it was in there. I mean, it's pretty bad. I'm gonna clean it up good. I'm pretty sure mostly it's that line called the Vanos line that goes down here, right there. I did buy a new one of those, of course. So we'll get all in there. It goes to the back of the of this housing. So while I have everything out, I can get in there and do it. So much stuff in the way. There we go. Let's see how much oil is going to drip out. Hopefully none, but I doubt that. Not much. Gotta have new crush washers. I have new everything, believe it or not. I even got some leftovers from the last time. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. I need a parts washer. That would be cool. I could just wash all this stuff off. I got this engine way more apart than I should. All right, and there's one more down here. I think that should be it. And I did end up taking the alternator out because I forgot there's actually 2 more bolts down here. This should be it, I swear. There's no more. I hope. All this for a gasket. But you can see it's pretty oily down here, so it's probably leaking. They always are. Now, I swear, it should come out. Oh, I forgot about the power steering pump. I guess, you know, the engine being covered in oil keeps everything from, you know, rusting and all that kind of stuff. So that's good. Let's go with that. Let's look for the bright side. Okay, now it's gonna come out, I think. There we go. Oh, and that is, oh, that is your oil filter housing. And the gasket's right there. See, that gasket's flat as could be. Probably has been leaking. I mean, look down here. There's definitely oil in there. There shouldn't be. So that's kind of a good indicator that this was a smart move. Here's the engine there. You can see the engine side. So everything looks good. I think this should go pretty well. All right, so we got 2 sensors. One is the oil pressure and the other is the coolant temp. I don't know which one's which. This actually has a little issue where sometimes the coolant temp gauge pins. It may not have to do with this, but we're here. We're going to change them. Be kind of dumb not to. It's probably easier to do it in the car. Fun fact, I ordered a new one of these off of Amazon that looks like the coolant temp, and the terrible person who bought it before me put their old one, used one in the box and returned it. Like, gee, thanks buddy. So this is just as simple as taking the old one out, putting a new one in. These are pretty cheap, so you're kind of crazy not to change them when you're this deep in the car. I know I'm not good at flipping cars because this is like exactly what you're not supposed to do with flipping cars. There is a seal, so make sure you get that seal on there. Should come with a new one unless somebody returns an old crappy one. God, that still got me going. Same deal. Okay, it's fun to finally be putting the pile of parts I have, and I have a pile of parts. All right, and then we'll just tighten that down. And then this is as simple as taking this one out, putting a new one in. Pick this one out. And you'll know when it comes out. It's hard, it's square. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's time. So then we take our new one, and only can go in one way. So if you somehow screwed up and put it in the wrong way, you deserve some kind of prize, I think. You'll feel too like it sticks up a little bit. You know, the other one was flat, so there was completely understandable why it was leaking oil. So now this sucker is ready to go back in. All right, so we've got the new gasket in. Now we're gonna go ahead and put this housing back on, and then we'll torque the bolts to 16. I recommend a little anti-seize because you've got steel bolts going into aluminum threads. Don't over torque them. You torque to 16. I don't suggest going to 17. So if you don't have a torque wrench, they're pretty cheap. You can get a pretty decent one at a store like Harbor Freight. Trust me, it's not something you want to pull threads on. We'll just run them down before we hit them with the torque wrench, and then we'll change some more parts. Okay, we almost got our first, maybe not our first, but one of our first new parts installed. Let's get those clicks. click, 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 click. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and replace these Vanos lines. Don't forget the new crush washers. They're very important. May not have been the reason it was leaking. I think it was leaking from the crimp, but you don't want to have a new leak. So you got one down here and the other side right here. So they're banjo bolt style, so there is a washer on each side. I like to put both sides in hand tight, and then once I know they're in place and they're not binding at all, just give them a little tightness. It's kind of like an oil pan drain plug. You know, you just give it a little tightness. There you go. All right, let's try to get this CCV back in. 99 2000, they've got the M52 TU. I had to cut a little hole in the sheathing to find the nipple. It's for the fuel pressure regulator or something like that, but there's a vacuum hose that went to it. You take this like coat off first, this covering. It'll be in there. I was a little freaking out at first because I didn't see it, but now that I found it, I was very much relieved. So let's see how we're gonna get this in there. This one's got to go up here. This one's gonna come down. There's one down there that's gonna snap into the bottom. Okay, we got that on. All right, so these lines are a little hard to get in there. Probably even harder with the cold weather option that I got. Has, like, you know, that sheathing on it, but this one seems to be in pretty much. Blinded by the light. Come on, BMW. Oh, you hate me. Okay. That CCV valve was a little more involved than I thought it was going to be getting back in. It was very hard to get those hoses back on, considering you also have the fear of cracking them and breaking them, and then what, right? But it took a little bit of work, but I got it. Let's see if I can show you here. It's not much to see. There it is. CCV valve is in. One last connection, and push that into the valve cover. Imagine doing this under that intake. That was the problem. This stuff was just all too tight. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. I think we're gonna do the power steering lines next. First thing, we gotta remove this clamp. All right, we're changing the two lines to the reservoir. So that's this top line. So we've got to cut this old crimp connector out. You can see all the leaking under here. That is from what we just fixed. That's from that Vanos line and the oil filter housing gasket. There is some power steering fluid in here too, and I think that is from the reservoir, which they tend to leak up there. I just cut the hose to make it a little easier. Let it drain out first. I just slit the end. I was able to get it off. So now we're just going to need to let it finish draining, and then we'll do a lot of work on putting the new hose on. Get the new hose in place, and we'll tighten it up. We'll get this hose back in this bracket and tighten it up, and then we can move on to the other hose that goes to the reservoir. There we go. This is the other one that goes up from the reservoir to the pump. There we go. And then we'll change that one as well. All right, we can just take this whole reservoir out now. Everything's getting replaced. We'll take this bracket off in a bit, but there we go. See how nasty. Yeah, that's why we're changing this. We're gonna tighten the power steering pump back up. Okay. There we go. So let's first get the brand new throttle body back in. This has got to be $1,000 by itself. Tighten up these 4 bolts for the throttle body. Probably have to do the relearn again. And then we can put all these boxes back in and plug all the harnesses back in. There we go. Throttle body back in. Woo! And I know you've heard me say this throttle body is new, but like, look how new this throttle body is. There's nothing in there yet. It's crazy. All right, let's get this bracket back into place. There's one. There's two. Click. Click. All right, so that's got the throttle cable on it. Now, this one needs to go back. This we know is for the throttle body. There we go. Just twist till it locks. There we go. There we go. Okay. This looks like it goes here. There we go. There we go. All right. That looks like all of it. Another bracket. Some kind of harness brain, we'll call it. Looks like an alien brain. Getting these intake boots back on. They're in good shape. They don't need to be replaced. I have a feeling they were replaced with the throttle body. And this boot is 2 pieces. So let's get the other piece on here. Let's go ahead and put this valve back on here. This definitely goes here. Starting to get a little nervous about this thing getting back together. We'll get this valve back on here. Okay, that's in. And that one's tight too. And we'll plug it back in. We are getting close to starting this thing. All right, I think we can go ahead and get this alternator in now. Another new part the previous owner recently had installed. So we got one plug on the back. And then we've got to hook up the power. All right, and we'll just tighten those up. Click. Okay. Now we can get the belt on. We can't forget the pulley that was broken. I'm not going to say I broke it, but I did. So let's go ahead and get that on there. It's not my fault that it's plastic. It's other people's fault. This water pump seems recent as well. I'll tighten these bolts as best as I can right now. And then once the belt's on there to hold the tension, I'll snug them down. Alright, let's get this belt on. Again, belt looks new. No reason to change it. Okay, belt's back on. We're getting close. Oh, I can't wait to start it. Alright, let's get this reservoir in there. Slide these in. This should take care of all those leaks. And the power steering, which I was dreading because it was so disgusting and nasty from the leaks, is good to go. Bam. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to torque that one. I'll torque this one. Click. Perfect. Now we're going to get some, I believe it's ATF these use. I'll double check. Fill it up. We'll bleed it by turning the steering back and forth, and we'll be good to go. It's always a good feeling when the top of the radiator here doesn't have any hardware left in it. That means I'm doing something right, because not only does it mean the car's back together, but it means I don't have extras. And it always sucks when you're done with a job and you have extras. You're like, crap. Yeah, I don't see any extras so far. So I'm winning right now. I know I broke, or I cracked the upper rad hose, so I want to change that. And I figured you can't just change the upper rad hose. You might as well do the lower too. So I'm just going to change it. That's something I always do in pairs. All right, let's see if I can do this without making a mess. Top hose is easy, right? We just pull off this clip. The bottom one, we've got a traditional clamp. There's not that much coming out. Of course, the clamp goes in the bucket. Always. Here's the new hose. And then we'll click this up here. Click it right in. I'll get that hose clamp tightened up and we'll move to the other one. Alright, now, if you remember, I broke this guy over here when I was trying to get the fan off. So, let's do the new one. go. There we go. All right, we'll get the air box in and the fan. And I think she's all back together. We'll check the fluids. Everything looks good. Pretty happy with how it's coming together. All right, so the air box kind of goes in two pieces. You got to make sure this goes to the fresh air, this goes to the mass airflow, and then the air filter is going to drop in separate. There we go. Go ahead and put a new air filter in. Why not? Until it snaps, and we've got to tighten the mounting screw down. And then this thing will be good to go. All we got to do now is put the fan in. Let's hope it wasn't as much of a pain in the butt as getting it out. Oh, one more part. Can't forget about this. This is the line to the overflow tank that I broke because I was a dummy and cost me $50 because it's a Z3 only part and it fits no other BMW. So let's go ahead and get this in and the fan, and then let's listen to it run. I've been freezing my you-know-what off out here getting this thing going, so I'm really looking forward to turning the key right now. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and put the fan in. I did use a little anti-seize, so whoever has to go in here next may thank me. All right, and after a little bit of determination, I got the fan back on. You don't have to be as aggressive putting this on because it spins the opposite direction of the engine, so technically it tightens, but you know, we're not going to leave it to that. We just want to hit it with the hammer as hard. All right, so we got our 32. So just make sure you're not going to break anything this time, and that should be good. I think we're ready to try to crank it over. I'm going to just check the fluids real quick, top off the antifreeze, and I guess I've got to put some power steering fluid or ATF in it or whatever. And next you hear from me, we're gonna try to crank this guy over. Just a quick minute to complain. Come on, man. Come on. Can't winter just be over? I'm sure you're aware, if you have a BMW, you gotta use the blue coolant. So, let's put the blue stuff in, 50-50 mixed with distilled water. Alright, I think we're ready to start her up. Seems the battery needs a little help. It's been sitting. I must have not disconnected it or what have you. Gives me a chance to try out this new Wolfbox jump starter that I got. I think it's the Max 24. Let's see. So you just put the jumpers in here. I think the red to red and black to black part's pretty standard. All right, and it says start. We can give it a boost. So let's go give it a try. All right, did a good job. Started right up for me. I'm pretty happy with it. It's sounding pretty good. I'm just gonna let it warm up to see if we get the engine to run to temperature like it should with the new thermostat, because if you don't remember, one of the things we were doing was changing the thermostat because it was only getting to a quarter of the way up the temp gauge, and that's probably what caused the CCV valve to get all gummed up, because the engine was never getting hot enough to burn off the moisture. Instead, it just turned into a sludge which clogged everything up. We're gonna run it for a bit. I'll probably put it on the road and drive it, change the oil to flush all, you know, the old oil out. But it sounds good, nice and smooth. I just did a throttle reset again because we did have the throttle body disconnected, so that makes sense. And it's running nice and smooth now. I'm gonna need to check the fluids again. I've turned the wheels left and right a few times. Probably gonna need to top off that power steering fluid, and with ATF, of course, BMW uses ATF, and check the level of the coolant again too. but I think drivetrain wise, this car is ready to go. I appreciate you sticking in and watching this one. I know this one was a bit involved with all the engine work. There was a lot done. It doesn't seem like it, but there was a lot done to get this thing to run right. So if you like what you see, you know, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me a comment, tell me what you think. I'll try to reply to everything that I can. Yeah, so thanks again, and have a good one, everybody.